Imagine grinding through 3 jobs, barely sleeping, your body aching, your mind racing, all to keep your family afloat. Every day feels like a marathon with no finish line, and hope is just a word you whisper to yourself to keep going. Then, one day, a stranger steps in with a single act of kindness that changes everything. What would you do if life gave you that kind of break? Would you dare to believe it was real? This is the story of Marcus Carter, a 34-year-old father of 3 in Columbus, Ohio, who pushed himself to the brink for his family, and Emily Larson, a CEO whose unexpected gesture will leave you stunned. By the end of this, you'll see how one moment can rewrite someone's future, and maybe even inspire you to see the world through a different lens. Marcus Carter wasn't born with a silver spoon. Raised in a working-class neighborhood in Columbus, he learned early that life doesn't hand out favors. He's a regular guy. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a quiet strength and a laugh that could light up a room, though lately, that laugh was rare. At 34, Marcus was a husband to Sarah and a father to 3 kids, Mia, 7, who loved drawing, Lily, 4, who never stopped asking, why, and baby Noah, just 6 months old, whose smile could melt the hardest day. But love doesn't pay the bills, and their family was drowning in them. Sarah had always been Marcus's rock, but after Noah's birth, complications left her unable to work. Gestational diabetes and a difficult delivery racked up medical bills that loomed like storm clouds. The family lived in a modest 2-bedroom apartment, the kind where the walls are thin and the heater rattles. Rent, utilities, groceries, diapers, it all added up faster than Marcus could earn. So he did what he had to, he worked 3 jobs. By day, Marcus hauled crates at a warehouse. By evening, he drove strangers around as a rideshare driver. By night, he stocked shelves at a grocery store. That's 18 hours of work, 6 days a week, with maybe 3 hours of sleep if the world didn't throw him a curveball. His life was a treadmill set to sprint, and he couldn't step off. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, over 7 million Americans, about 5% of the workforce, juggle multiple jobs. Marcus wasn't alone, but knowing that didn't make it easier. Every day, he carried the weight of a single question: what if it's not enough? Sarah saw the toll it took. She'd watch him drag himself through the door, his eyes bloodshot, his shoulders slumped. "You can't keep this up," she'd say, her voice soft but firm. Marcus would just kiss her forehead and say, "We're almost there, babe." Almost where? He didn't know. It was a mantra to keep despair at bay. Let's walk through a day in Marcus's life to feel the grind. It's 5 a.m., and his phone alarm buzzes like a drill sergeant. He's on the couch, he rarely makes it to bed, his body stiff from the night before. He downs a cup of instant coffee, the cheap kind that tastes like regret, and heads to the warehouse by 6 a.m. The work is brutal, lifting 50-pound crates, stacking pallets, dodging forklifts in a cavernous building that smells of dust and cardboard. His boss barks orders, uninterested in excuses like exhaustion. Lunch is a 30-minute break in a fluorescent-lit break room, where Marcus eats a peanut butter sandwich and checks his rideshare app for the evening's gigs. By 3 p.m., he's in his 2009 Honda Civic, a car held together by duct tape and prayers. The check engine light has been on for weeks, a mocking reminder of repairs he can't afford. As a rideshare driver, he navigates Columbus's rush-hour traffic, picking up passengers. College students, businesspeople, late-night bar hoppers. Some tip well, others barely acknowledge him. Gas prices eat into his earnings, and every ping from the app feels like a gamble. Will this ride be worth it? Will the car hold up? At 10 p.m., Marcus clocks in at the grocery store. The fluorescent lights buzz like a headache, and the aisles are silent except for the hum of a floor polisher. He stocks shelves, cans of soup, boxes of cereal, moving like a machine to keep his mind from wandering to the bills, the kids, the what-ifs. By 4 a.m., he's done, driving home in the pre-dawn dark. He collapses on the couch, too tired to shower, and catches 2 hours of sleep before Mia and Lily's chatter wakes him. This isn't a Hollywood montage with a swelling soundtrack. It's raw, relentless, and real. Sarah would sometimes sit up waiting for him, a cup of tea in her hands, just to steal a few minutes together. "You're my hero," she'd whisper, but Marcus didn't feel heroic. He felt like a man running out of time. Marcus's life was a fragile balance, and it was starting to crack. His car, the lifeline for his rideshare job, was on its last legs. The mechanic quoted $1,200 for repairs, more than a month's rent. Without the car, he'd lose a third of his income, and the whole house of cards would collapse. Every time he turned the key, he held his breath, praying the engine would catch. Then there was his health. A 2021 study from the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health found that multiple job holders are 61% more likely to report poor physical health. Marcus felt it in his bones: back pain from lifting crates, headaches from sleep deprivation, a persistent cough that lingered like a bad guest. He ignored it. Doctor visits meant co-pays, and time off meant lost wages. Sarah noticed the way he winced when he stood, the way his hands trembled from too much coffee. "You're not a machine, Marcus," she'd say, but he'd just shrug. "Gotta keep going." The fear was always there, a shadow in his mind. What if he got sick? What if the car died? What if he couldn't provide? At night, when the house was quiet, he'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, calculating bills in his head. Rent, $900. Groceries, $400. Medical bills, $2,000 and counting. The numbers never added up. Sarah tried to stay strong, but she confided in her sister once, "I'm scared he's going to break." Then came the evening that changed everything. It was a chilly October night, and Marcus was on his rideshare shift, picking up a passenger named Emily Larson. She was in her late 40s, sharply dressed, with an air of quiet confidence. Emily was the CEO of BrightPath Solutions, a Columbus-based tech company that built software for small businesses. She'd just wrapped a marathon day of meetings and needed a ride to the airport. Marcus was his usual polite self, confirming the destination with a tired smile. Emily, though, wasn't like most passengers. She didn't scroll her phone or make small talk about the weather. She noticed Marcus's grip on the steering wheel, the way his eyes flicked to the dashboard as if expecting bad news. "Long day?" she asked, her tone warm but not prying. Marcus gave a hollow chuckle. "Long life." Something about her voice, calm, genuine, cracked his usual guard. Maybe it was the exhaustion, or maybe he just needed to talk. He didn't pour out his heart, but he let slip enough: 3 jobs, 3 kids, a car on its last legs. Emily listened, asking gentle questions, her eyes steady in the rearview mirror. By the time they reached the airport, she was quiet, processing. As she stepped out, she handed Marcus her business card. "Hang in there," she said. "You're doing something incredible for your family." Marcus nodded, assuming it was just a kind gesture. He tucked the card in his glove box and drove off, expecting nothing more. Emily couldn't let it go. Back at her hotel, she sat on the edge of her bed, replaying Marcus's words. As a CEO, she'd seen hard work. Her own journey from a one-room startup to a company with 200 employees was proof of that. But Marcus's story was different. It wasn't about ambition or chasing dreams, it was about survival, about love so fierce it pushed a man to the edge. She thought of her own 2 teenagers, safe at home with her husband, and imagined what it would take to work 18-hour days just to give them a chance. Emily wasn't one for grand gestures or public displays of charity. But she believed in action. The next morning, she called her HR director, Karen, and said, "I met someone who deserves a break. Let's figure out how we can help." BrightPath had a program called Community Lift, a low-key initiative to support local families. They'd covered school supplies, utility bills, even a few medical expenses for people in need. But Emily wanted to do more for Marcus. She saw something in him. Not just a hard worker, the kind of person her company valued. Tracking Marcus down wasn't easy. Rideshare apps protect driver info, so it took a few days of back and forth with the company to get his contact details. When Emily finally called, Marcus was skeptical. "Nobody just calls to help," he told Sarah, tossing the phone onto the couch. But Emily was persistent. She invited him to a coffee shop near the warehouse, promising a quick chat, no strings attached. Sarah urged him to go. "What do you have to lose?" she said, her eyes hopeful for the first time in months. Marcus arrived at the coffee shop, his work boots scuffed, his hoodie frayed at the cuffs. He hadn't slept more than 4 hours, and he braced for a catch, a sales pitch, a scam, something. Emily was already there, sitting by the window with 2 coffees. Her smile was warm, disarming. "I can't stop thinking about your story," she said. "You're carrying a lot, and I want to help." She laid it out. BrightPath would cover his car repairs, no repayment needed, through their community lift program. More than that, they had an opening for a logistics coordinator, a full-time job with a salary nearly double what he made across all 3 jobs combined. Benefits included health insurance for the whole family, paid time off, and a schedule that wouldn't bury him. The job wasn't charity, it was real. Based on Marcus's work ethic, Emily believed he'd excel. Marcus sat there, stunned, his coffee untouched. His first thought was, "This can't be real." He asked questions, waiting for the fine print. There wasn't any. Emily explained that BrightPath valued people who showed up, and Marcus's life screamed dedication. The job would mean training, he'd need to learn inventory systems and supply chain basics, but the company would support him. For the first time in years, Marcus felt a spark of something he'd almost forgotten, hope. He went home and told Sarah. She cried, not out of sadness but relief, her hands shaking as she hugged him. "Is this real?" she kept asking. Marcus wasn't sure himself, but he said yes to the job. It was a leap of faith, the kind you take when you've got nothing left to lose. Transitioning wasn't easy. Marcus had built his life around those 3 jobs, letting go felt like jumping without a parachute. He gave notice at the warehouse and grocery store, keeping the rideshare gig until he was sure BrightPath was real. The car repairs were covered within a week, a mechanic from a shop partnered with Community Lift fixed the Honda, good as new. Marcus started at BrightPath, learning to manage shipments and coordinate deliveries. The work was challenging but not soul-crushing. He had a desk, a lunch break, colleagues who called him by name. Within a month, Marcus was sleeping 6 hours a night. He came home in time to read Lily a bedtime story or help Mia with her drawings. Sarah noticed the change. His eyes were brighter, his cough was gone. The health insurance covered Noah's checkups and Sarah's follow-up appointments, lifting a weight they'd carried for months. Marcus even started joking again, his old laugh creeping back. 3 months in, Emily called him into her office. Marcus's stomach dropped, he thought he'd messed up. Instead, Emily handed him a letter from BrightPath's board. It was a bonus for new employees who showed exceptional dedication, $5,000, enough to clear their medical bills and start a savings account for the kids. Marcus broke down, just a few quiet tears. "I don't know how to thank you," he said. Emily shook her head. "You earned this. All I did was open a door." To Marcus, it was more than a door. It was a lifeline. He wasn't just a provider anymore, he was a dad, a husband, a man who could breathe again. Marcus's story isn't just about one man or one CEO. It's about what happens when someone sees another person's struggle and acts. A 2023 Economic Policy Institute report found that 40% of American families live paycheck to paycheck, teetering on the edge of collapse. Marcus could have been any of them, a teacher, a nurse, a delivery driver. Emily's decision to help wasn't about pity, it was about recognizing potential and offering a hand up, not a handout. This story hits home because we all know what it's like to feel trapped, to wonder if the grind will ever ease. Maybe you're not working 3 jobs, but you felt the weight of bills, the fear of failing those you love. Marcus's journey shows that help can come from unexpected places, a stranger, a neighbor, a moment of connection. And it challenges us to be that help for someone else. Emily didn't change the world, but she changed one family's world, and that's where it starts. Today, Marcus is thriving at BrightPath. He's taken online courses to sharpen his logistics skills, even mentoring new hires. Mia's drawings are pinned up in his cubicle, and Lily's why questions are now directed at him during dinner. Noah's first word was "Dada," and Marcus was there to hear it. Sarah started a part-time job from home, managing social media for a local business, her confidence growing with every paycheck. Emily expanded Community Lift, inspired by Marcus's story. The program now partners with local businesses to offer job training and emergency grants to families in Columbus. It's not a cure for systemic problems, poverty, healthcare costs, wage gaps, but it's a start. BrightPath's employees rallied behind it, some even volunteering to teach resume workshops or mentor participants. This isn't a fairy tale. Marcus and Sarah still budget carefully, life still throws curveballs. But they're not fighting alone anymore. Their story is a reminder that hope isn't just a feeling, it's action, connection, a willingness to see and be seen. What can you take from this? Maybe it's a push to keep going, even when life feels like a treadmill. Maybe it's a call to notice the people around you, the cashier, the driver, the neighbor, who might be carrying more than they show. Or maybe it's just a story that makes you feel less alone, a reminder that kindness can still break through. If Marcus's story moved you, hit that subscribe button. We've got more stories like this, real people, real struggles, real hope, coming your way. And next time you're out there, look around. You never know when you might be someone's Emily.